domaine architecture et complexité, et très heureux d'accueillir Beate Meyer, architecte installée à Bâle, qui est associée à Reto Pedrocchi. Pedrocchi. Pardon. Donc, c'est une jeune agence bâloise. Ils sont tous les deux suisses. Ils sont nés en 1973. Ils ont fait leurs études à Bâle, au collège de technologie de Bâle. Et ensuite, ils les ont poursuivis à Berlin. Voilà. Ils ont créé leur agence en 2005, donc c'est très récent. Et je dirais qu'ils s'inscrivent dans la série des conférences que je dirais nous avons initiées. Ils font partie, je dirais, des jeunes agences européennes qui ont un travail très intéressant. Et donc, je te donne la parole.
Okay, merci.
Vous pourrez poser des questions en français après la conférence. Il comprend en fait le français, mais il va faire une conférence en anglais parce qu'il est plus à l'aise avec l'anglais. Voilà.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation for the lecture of tonight. I will give the lecture. Can you understand? This one better? Okay. I will give the lecture in English because.
Un des deux. On enlève. Alors peut-être.
Okay. C'est mieux comme ça? Non?
On va demander à Bob.
Ok.
Il n'est pas sur le calendrier. Non, il n'est pas.
Il faudrait peut-être couper celui-là alors, non?
Oui,
non.
tu peux le couper. Non,
comment
il ne marche pas celui-là.
On ne coupe pas? C'est inversé, il y a un retour.
Ça marche?
Donc on le coupe. Comment on fait pour couper? On fait comment? Il faut couper celui-là.
Okay, let's start again. Thank you for the invitation to give this lecture to you tonight. When we got the first mail, the first invitation for this lecture, the title was Young European Architects, and made us think about who or what are young European architects. My partner Reto Pedrocchi and me, we're since now about 20 years into architecture business, and there was a lot of changes happening in that period. I would like to start this lecture with our young architects. We have chosen 10 offices from Switzerland, which had a huge influence to our work and to our education. And for us, these offices have always been the young architecture scene in Switzerland. When I will show you the projects now, or the 10 statements that we prepared, you will see these young architects are not so young anymore. That's why you invited me as a part of a new generation, of a younger generation. After that statement, I will show you 4 projects from our office. I guess you can imagine yourself how the influence of these of our young architects came into our projects. We called the lecture Memories because that's what we kept in mind during the last years. Okay. The office building in Basel from Diener Architects, built in 1988. The projects designed by Diener and Diener are often based on the rules given by the specific urban context. The architects have a great ability to analyze the city and to transform their understanding into clear architectural statements, as for this office building in Basel near the train station. On one hand, it was the challenge to design a front building of a row of houses with an evident expression. On the other hand, the street cuts the parcel at the most exposed corner. These two topics defined the shape of the office building in an unexpected and simple way. The Ricola storage building, made by Herzog & Dömerer in 1987. Herzog & Dömerer was asked to create a shell for a new, fully automated storage of dried herbs. The architects used the concept of stack of boards, an image that can be seen in the sawmills all over that area. A simple construction in wood and fiber cement boards protect the thermal insulation from humidity and provides it with ventilation. Increasingly free of load, the horizontal strips grow towards the sky. The compact object-like appearance of the storage hole turns into single elements as soon as you get closer. The constant process with materials and construction in relation to the object is an ongoing subject in their work. The Museum Josefsson from Peter Merkli, built in 1992. It is not a museum in the usual sense, but a house for a selection of sculptures by Hans Josefsson, a Swiss artist. The building presents a sequence of 3 main spaces of equal width, set along a centric axis. Each space has its own height and is lit by a scenical skylight. All walls are built in rough concrete, cast inside. In impressive scantiness, the architectural space places itself into service of the heavy bronze figures. It is a radical implementation of unified art and architecture. Extension of the collection Oskar Reinhardt from Gigonguir Architects, built in 1998. 3 new exhibition rooms link the former residential house with the existing gallery building. According to their exhibits, the 3 spaces are different in size and proportion. Skylights illuminate the space with equal and natural light. The exterior view shows the exhibition rooms as closed volumes. Limestone and copper powder has been added to the concrete elements and cause a green-colored oxidation. The new building goes through an accelerated time travel towards its neighbor's building. We like the sensitive use of materials and the playful approach with the old and the new. The chapel Oberrealta from Christian Keretz, built in 1994. The chapel marks the edge of a plateau where a small chapel was formerly situated. The monolithic construction covers the old ruins like a protective shell. The form of the chapel reminds of a simple everyday house, but also on a structure of an ordinary house, and in this sense it is a monument. Its simplicity and modest dimension accentuate the beauty of the mountain landscape all around it. Daylight is falling through a narrow slit in the wall into the interior and allows a view of the distant mountain. The architectural concept is strongly affected by the site landscape and its purpose. The yellow house, even if it's white, it's called the yellow house from Valerio Olgiati, built or renovated in 1999. Since the internal structure of the dwelling house was not suitable for a new purpose of an exhibition space, the architect had to take a rigorous action to convert it. The building was completely gutted. The entire interior was rebuilt in solid wood. The old external plasterwork was removed to reveal the natural stone walls. The roof was removed and replaced with randomly shaped stone slabs. Finally, everything was painted white to conceal anything left unfinished. The radical way to turn an old building into a new house with a completely new appearance is impressive. Standardized building for railway technology from Morger and Degelow Architects. Within 5 years, from 1996 to 2001, the Swiss Railways replaced obsolete railways control centers with standardized and modular buildings. Hollow concrete elements for walls and ceiling are filled with the excavation from the site. They work as a buffer in hot and cold season. We think finding an archaic solution to protect high-tech equipment is desirable. The covered market hall from Miller Maranta, built in 2002. The polygonal formed hall adapts to the historical derived from the old town square. It defines the urban space between the old houses and a confident way. Narrow passages reminds to old lanes. Each element of the wooden building is fitted into the construction, and it seems none of the wooden pieces is needless. The precision and the constant dialogue between old and new is exceptional. Holiday home from EM2N Architects, built in 2003. This holiday home, owned by the architect, reacts to the location next to a mountain meadow by stretching upwards in order to capture the spectacular view from all sides. The surrounding of the building remains untouched, which in winter is used as a ski slope and in summer as a pasture. This 4-meter-high sleeping hall on the top is also a bathroom and open to the panorama level. The contemporary work with the theme of the Swiss chalet results in a compact and plain chalet tower. And project number 10, Loft House from Buchner-Brünnler Architects, completed in 2001. The Loft House in Basel contains 5 generous one-space apartments. A compact core with stairs, elevator and bathrooms is positioned in the center of the building and creates zones with different atmospheres. The facades are fully glazed to the front and to the back. The cantilever front facade allows to view along the street and gives the impression to live above it. Now, a bit more free, starting with our projects, that you might see the influence of these other 10 formerly young offices. One of our first projects that we could do in our office was the refurbishment of 2 apartments in Davos. Davos is a place in the Swiss mountains. It looks at this time of the year like that. It's not a village anymore, it's really a town. Many people live there, and it's mainly a winter destination for ski tourism. We have been asked by the client to design an interior for a flat that he bought in a bare brick situation. That means the house was not completed when he bought it. The interior was not designed at that point, and he asked us, what can I do with that? It was from the beginning clear that he will not live in there, but he thought this is a very special room. It has a room height of 4.50 meters, which is exceptional for a living space. So he saw that, he thought he has to buy it and do something. He asked us, what can I do? We proposed two different solutions. The background for both solutions must have been the same, and this is the view from that floor. It is the ground floor, and it's in the middle of the neighbors. From the first floor, you already have a nice view to the mountains, but he decided to have the ground floor because this is a special room height. The view to the neighbors was not really exciting, so it was totally clear. We have to have a filter or a curtain or something that keeps the light coming into the space but blocks the view because you don't want to see the neighbors in that area. We decided to use two elements. One as a curtain, really using curtain in front of the windows that was designed together with a textile designer. And we used the second element, we called it a room divider. It was an element that separates space, but the light should come through. Going back to the floor plan, we proposed to do an apartment with one big room. It's designed as a vacation flat. We divided the whole floor plan in three stripes. You can see on the right side the main room, living, dining, kitchen, all together in one space. The second strip with entrance area on the top, with wet area in the middle, sleeping room on the bottom, and a third strip that was originally only used as a storage space. We changed into a kind of wellness area. There is this part of the flat is already underground because it's on the slope, so there is not a lot of light here and on this part. And we had this to bring in the light from the windows on that side into this area without covering it with this wall. So this wall was one part of the project that we took a lot of effort to create an element that is self-standing, translucent, but also a room divider. The result of that research we did, or this development we did, was a wall that was formed out of two wave lines, one in a horizontal direction and one is in a vertical direction. The two wavelines, they cut each other. There's an intersection of the two wavelines, and when you take a material cutting with these wavelines, you get a wall that has holes in it. Of course, we couldn't make holes in that wall, so we covered the holes again with the translucent material. There have been many tries and many prototypes we developed. Finally, we found a material that is called reinforced plastic. It's, I don't know in French, but I hope you can see from the image what it is. It was the only material that was able to do such a shape, keep the translucent, keep the stability for the wall. This is a detailed view from the back of the wall. This is the full view. This wall is self-standing. It's just fixed on the top that it doesn't fall, but it stands alone on the ground. You can see now that the spots where the light is coming through. If you would do it in the original design, there would be a hole in the wall. This is this main room I explained at the beginning of the project. we wanted to have as much space as possible and tried to squeeze as many functions as possible in one single furniture. So this is the kitchen and the dining room. It's in one furniture together. If you look from the other side, you can see space, enough space for 10 guests eating on that table. And you can see now in the background the curtain. Maybe you can't see the details of the curtain, but there's a pattern on the detail that we did not print on the fabrics. We used a special technique to burn part of the fibers with acid and bring a pattern into the fabric with this technique. This is another view of the dining table with this room divider wall in the background. This is all now in the main space. So the second strip in the middle of the floor plan is where we have a toilet and a bathroom. That's now the back side from this wall. And if you go one strip deeper in the floor plan to the left side, you end up in the formal storage room. The storage room had no windows and is almost fully underground. So we had to drill holes into the outer wall. They're covered with green glass, and the whole room is covered with black tiles. So the green light you have in here is only coming from the glass. The ground on the outside goes like that, so you're really half into the mountain. In the same building, we have been asked by another owner of an apartment to do the same work for his apartment. The first one was on the ground floor, no nice view. The second one was the opposite. It's the penthouse on the top of the same building. It's 5 stories upper than the other one. And this was a Russian family that came to Davos for ski holidays, and for many years they always stayed in a hotel and decided that they want to have their own apartment, but they will use it only as a vacation home. The original design of that floor have been 2 apartments. One apartment on that side, the other apartment here. They decided to buy both apartments on the top level because they worried about the space for their sauna. So, because they bought now 2, they have really a lot of space. It's a couple with an adult son, so it's for 3 persons and guests. As a different to the other apartment downstairs, this floor plan here is really based on single rooms. It's not like one big connected area. It's each function is in a separate room. This was clear after discussion with the client. They didn't want to have open space or something like that. So we started with the bedroom, and we thought they're used to the hotel. So we gave them kind of a hotel bed, like with built-in closet and a separate bathroom. We had 2 of these rooms, one for the parents, one for the son, and really tried to use also these materials that you know from the hotel. So we used carpet, we used curtains, we used wooden furnitures, and we started continuing with this materialization of each different use. So on this side of the floor plan you can see the sauna, which of course is made in wood, like the chill out area with the whirlpool. it's an area where you walk barefoot, so you should have a warm floor, you should have something comfortable, cozy. The living room that has the windows on two sides should more be like a lounge in the hotel. So all the different uses became a very strong materialization and a very different materialization, and we started to worry about it. The project started to separate because of this huge amount of different materials. There is one space that connects all these different small rooms. This long corridor connecting each room, and because of this heavy materialization, we thought we have to do a space that kind of clears or washes or takes these materializations away when you change from one room to the other room, and keep this corridor space as neutral as possible. So we decided to make it only in white, with white walls, white ceiling, white floor, use with different brightness of the materials. So every time you change the room, you have to go through this white corridor. So this is a picture of a model we did for presentation to the client. And we really tried to build it one-to-one from that model. Of course, keep on working with the brightness of the materials. We have this shiny wall on the left side, and we have this three-dimensional structure on the right side that we tried to work with the light that only comes in on the end of the corridor. So you always have at the end the light facing you, and if you do a wall which has just a little shifted surfaces, you get different shades of white. So this is in the direction to the valley. This is the same corridor in the other direction. It was not possible to have a window there because we needed a space for other room behind it. But it was possible to have a skylight because we're on the top floor of that building. So after the roof was done, we cut an opening to bring in light on the other end of the corridor again. You can see the view from the corridor into the sauna area. We used there a very dark wooden floor. The wood is not treated, so it's only sanded, so it has the natural surface. You can walk barefoot. It feels really warm. On the left side, you can have a look into the actual sauna room, and of course the whirlpool. This room, this chill-out room, is in the downstairs, in the apartment downstairs, the living room. So because they bought an additional flat that had really a lot of space and was really a luxurious situation to use that space for such kind of usage. Now this is a view in the bedroom. We have been asked by the client if we will hang some paintings or images. So we did a proposal to work together with graphic designer instead of hanging images on the walls. In a very early stage of the project, we started working with graphic designers, and they developed a concept that goes through these night rooms, like the bedrooms, the guest room that is covered with carpet and curtain. So they developed this strip pattern that goes actually through the whole floor plan, except the corridor in the middle that is neutral white, but the strips continue in the room on the other side of the corridor. And they also developed these images that have been printed on the curtains. The living room, it was clear this lounge room that we wanted to have needs a hard material on the floor. It needs a stone-like material that we also wanted to use for the fireplace and for the bench in the background. And we really developed this material combination of these white stones in black cement that was actually tried many different samples, and at the end when it was done, we came up with, oh, it looks like this Dalmatiner. I don't know in English or in French, but it's the negative of it. But it was not at the beginning, it was at the end. So then we organized the talk to do some nice pictures in that room. It was also exceptional with that client that they asked us for the furnishing. So we could propose all the furniture in that apartment. And they basically followed our proposals. Okay. This was a very lucky situation as a young office. This was our second year after we found our office to get a client that worries more about the quality that they get than about the price that it costs. So it's really a big chance for us to show that we really like to work precisely in detail, work with materials, and they really have been happy at the end. Okay, next project is a project that is not built, it's a competition. It's a pavilion in the St. Johannes Park in Basel. It was an open competition that we joined. The neighborhood where this pavilion or this park is just outside the old village walls. It was an area that was mainly working people for chemical industries 100 years ago. It was also the butcher area there, exactly where the park is today. But it's very nice situated now. It's on the border of the river. But the park is done in the 80s. They teared down all the leftover industrial buildings. It was done in the 80s, and now last year they decided to add another building to that park. They wanted to have a pavilion with different functions, so there should be a room for kids where they can play like the whole day. There's a coffee also, there's some administration space, and multifunction hall that can be rented for weddings or birthday parties. They always talked about pavilions, but the program they had was actually too big, so it didn't fit into a building that looks like a pavilion or that is in the size of a pavilion. At the beginning of the competition phase, we did a lot of research about pavilions. Most of the pavilions have only one use. It's like made for music and presentation, or just for looking nice, or it's this is a bathhouse in a dimension that we would call a pavilion. We ended up with a sketch that fits to all our imaginations that this pavilion should look like. So we closed this process of analyzing and research with this one single sketch. That was all the ideas and the feelings and atmosphere was in this hand drawing. So we developed then the floor plan to that sketch. So you can see the park. Here is the Rhine. Here is the old town wall with the gate, and this area was used as a industrial butcher area. So this is the old villa of the Le Patron. That was the only element that was kept, and everything else was teared down and made a park. Here in the corner, there's kind of little forest. There are more trees than the other part of the park. And in the middle of that forest, we wanted to put this round pavilion. The program didn't really fit into that sketch that we did. But we also had the possibility to use the basement also for uses. We put the kids at the playing ground, the playing area for the kids in the basement. Of course, there's like a courtyard situation on this side, so they have direct access to the outside playing area. The parents are in the ground floor in the coffee. There is a middle floor for administrational and infrastructure uses. And on the top floor, under this cupola of this pavilion, we placed this multifunction hall that can be used for different purposes. So, top view. It's a bit slow. Okay. In the section you can see we did like these two main spaces. One on the ground floor, this public coffee for the neighborhood, and on top floor this multifunction hall, and like a belt in the middle we used this lower floor for infrastructure and administrational uses, and then put the play area downstairs. Here is outdoor space, so they have direct access. In the facade, we're now coming back close to the sketch. Really try to keep this impression of this pavilion, even if it's a 3-story high building. And it ended up with a rendering with it that is like the next translation of the sketch into a more realistic image, where you can see that even if the size of this pavilion, it keeps the impression of a pavilion. We haven't been successful with this competition, but from my point of view, it was the only project that really did a pavilion. All the other projects became big houses that are oversized for that area. But the jury, they had a different point of view than we had. So it's a project I like to show because we love it very much, but they got something else. Okay, another project that's going to be realized. We just started construction last December. It started with a small invited competition. The client is a private client. There are 2 sisters that have a ground that belongs to the family. They wanted to do an apartment building and decided to do a competition for young Basel offices. So they invited 3 young offices, and one of them was our office, and we have been the youngest of the 3. So the 2 others have been more experienced, have been already known in Basel. And we felt that this is a disadvantage for us. So the others, they can prove, they can build, they have an office size that is no problem to realize such a project. So we had to find a way to do a project that can convince the client. The plot is a little bit outside of the town. It's in an area that is single family or double family houses are standing there. And the construction regulation or the building regulations in that area are very strict. So they have really strict regulations that it's not allowed to do a flat roof, or you have to do this slanted roof. And they described it in this building codes because they had to translate the image. This is the image that the government has of the houses that should be built in that area, and they had to translate it into words that describes what they want. So that was the image they had, and we expected that the other offices will do a project that doesn't follow the regulation, because there was in the code there was written twice that exceptional permissions are possible. So we expected that the other competitors will do a flat roof, use it as a roof terrace. That would be a big advantage for the floor plans and for the housing situation there. Because the spot is next to a park, so it's a really nice view or a nice location. We started working with the codes, and we really read the codes very carefully. And the code has like gaps. It has elements that are not really precisely described, but they didn't know. So we really followed the code, and it says this is the maximum dimension that we can do. So we did it because the clients want to have profit from that project. You have to have this slanted roof starting from the longer side of the volume, and you have a maximum degree that you can do. This was 45 degree. So you have a level height that is given, you have a total height that is given, you have a width that is given. It's geometry. So you end up with such a shape that follows 100% the regulation, but start looking different at what they want. So you can do like windows or surfaces in the roof, and this is described by a formula that the length of the facade multiplied by 60 centimeters equals square meters that you can do like standing surfaces in the roof area. But there was no description how you connect this surface with the main roof. So we ended up with a shape that is bigger, and actually it's a bigger volume with the same amount of square meters, but you can use the square meters better, especially on the top floor under the roof, because we did this shape. The result of this analysis was that we could fit 6 flats instead of 5 flats into that building. And this is an economical advantage that we could figure out just based on the building codes. The overview, how we developed this shape of the building. It looks easy, but it was of course not so easy, because we really tried every kind of roof shape that follows or doesn't follow in every point to that regulation. And we try to do the maximum that they can get as a living space. And we won this competition against the 2 other offices. And one reason was really this efficiency that we could bring into that project. This was the image we did for the competition. It was covered with copper. We have 2 main floors that are mirrored or they have a point symmetry in it, and we have the top floor that is the 2 flats under the roof. Also, according to the regulation, it's allowed to have the entrance in the ground floor, in the basement. So we don't need space in the ground floor. We can use the space in the ground floor for the apartments. So you enter the building, underneath you go to the center of the of the house. You have staircase and elevator there, and you get up in the core of the house and enter your flat. So this is the standard floor plan. You can see this is it's like a rotation. It's twice the same floor plan. We decided to do a main room in every flat. So this is like the main living room that is on the opposite direction. So you're as far away from your neighbor as possible. On the upper floor, we place these main rooms then in the other direction. So each neighbor is as far away from the other as possible and still live together in one building. And as you can see in this floor plan, there is an exception because they wanted to have different size of apartments. In the top floor under the roof, we decided to separate the space, not as we had like first in this direction, we separated in this direction, so you can realize the full length of the building in one big space. You have the like main living area, kitchen in between, and then you have a sleeping area with a revolving door that can separate the main space from the bedroom. Another big advantage with the shape of this building is that we get a flat part on the top. So the exterior space of these two rooms, two flats under the roof is on the top of the building. So we have a flat roof on top, we have a roof terrace, and we don't need an exceptional permission for that building because it's according to the codes. This is another image we did for the competition. The project changed a lot. We had a lot of costs pressure, and we had to do it much more efficient, but we still can keep the main ideas of the floor plan and of the shape of the building, but the color and the materialization changed many times since then. The last project I will show you is our first international project. It's called the Ordos 100 project in Inner Mongolia in China. This project has a story that maybe you heard about before. This person is Ai Weiwei, maybe most famous Chinese artist. He was involved from the client to do that Ordos 100 project. The goal was to build 100 villas in a new city in Inner Mongolia. And what they did is they did a list of 100 young international offices, and somehow our office ended up on that list. It's very international. There are no Chinese offices, but they're coming from all over the world. So Inner Mongolia is a part of China between Mongolia and China. Okay. It's this part. We really can't tell you a lot about that. We got this question, or we got this invitation to go there 1 month later. We have been there, have a look on the site. They're very proud of Genghis Khan coming from that area. And so if you zoom in closer to that area, it's on the bright spot on the bottom. And that's how it looks on Google Earth right now. When we have been there, they started to build a new town in that area. As you can see, maybe this picture must be 2 years old. There's nothing. Now they already built the whole administration buildings, police station, the library, theater. They will build a new city for about 1 million people, they say. And in one of the kind of suburb area of that new city, which is in that part, there is the Orders 100 project placed in an area that is called creative industries. I still don't know exactly what they mean with it, but it sounds very good. And there will be an architecture school at that spot, I heard. There's already a museum here that's completed, and ateliers for artists here built by EBV. And this spot here, it was planned to do these 100 villas. The office of EBV did a master plan. Actually, they did just 100 parcels. And when we went there was a lottery, and every office got a number with a parcel. We got number 21, which actually doesn't matter so much because it looks the same as 20 and 22, and it looked like that when we have been there. So somewhere here is our spot. So how can you do a villa when there is no surrounding? So on what will you react? There is no town, and so we had to find different ways to design a villa. This is the client. We heard he became rich from milk products that are very popular in China right now. So we all got the same program for that villa. It's about 1,000 square meters. And what kind of program do you have in a villa of 1,000 square meters for a owner that you don't know, because the villas will be sold. So somebody will buy that villa, and so you can't react on the client. We are usually used to have this interaction with the client. And we just had this program, this Chinese and English translation, that was more or less a main living room, or the small living room, and main dining room, and small dining room, and main bedroom, and some additional bedroom. So everything was more like, we thought, very made for a master, like master bedroom. We took this master bedroom and decided there is a person that is like an important person there, and everything should follow this one person. So that ended up in a concept that we called "My home is my castle," because he's the owner, or he will be the owner of the castle. We analyzed the program and figured out that there are many rooms in the same dimension and not so specific description. So we started to follow the dimension of the rooms, about the square meters. And there have been about 8 rooms that had the same size, about 40 square meter each. And from that list of rooms, we decided, okay, we take them all together. We take the master bedroom, we take the master dining room, we take the master living room, and put everything together and make a master room. So that became the master room. It's about 250 square meters big. It's one space. And we thought it will be very interesting not to make a sleeping room or sleeping area or dining area. So we want to keep it really neutral and start with a neutral shape. This is the cube that has the length and height with the same dimension. And start arranging such cubes. And we had some more separated east-west cubes. We connected them to like more double cubes. This was everything very, very conceptual at that phase. But we really like to bring that concept as clear and as pure as it looks here into a space. So this is not a space. This is like the positive space, but we have to do like this negative space interior, and kept elements of these cubes. So we kept the in-between space of that cubes, and decided, okay, we will use this in-between space, but not on the ground floor, but above us, and create different spots in this big 250 square meter room. Because I guess it's not really comfortable to have a bed in a 250 square meter room. You get lost. So within that big area, you need spots, you need different atmospheres, develop different feelings, light situations, that when you enter the room, you know, I want to place my bed here, I feel cozy at that spot, but no dividing walls. So we try to use a kind of cupola shape above your head. So you have like 2.50 meter free space in height of 250 square meters, and above that you have this beam that is the in-between space of these cubes that creates like spots or like points in this big surface. So the uses that are for both, like for the not master people and the master, and the other people, they have their bedrooms in the ground floor, in a ring shape. In the middle there is the pool that was required in the program. The pool is not only for wellness, it also works as for to bring humidity into the building, because the climate in that area is very dry. So you need this pool for kind of climate control in the building. So the people living downstairs, they have two stairs, two direct connection to upstairs, ending up at the edge of this double use area. So if they wish, they can use the upper floor without crossing the room of the master. So that there's kind of shadow people living downstairs and using the house at the same time as the master, but if they don't want, they don't see each other. If they want, they can see each other. So, and put everything together. Master gets double room height, the other gets single room height. So also from the outside, you can see where is the area of the master. So going back to that explanation about finding spots or creating different atmosphere, different places in a bigger room. So this is this beam on top of the half of the volume, creates kind of mirrored room on the top. So you have a division, but not on the floor, but in the ceiling. And we tried that with different models, different shapes, like the walls are like bended a little bit, and it was not anymore at the end. How to bring the light in, and really developed with some different models and in different dimensions, that it will work in the model. And so we also hope it will work in one-to-one scale. This is just a simple try to make living area from a model in that dimension. So now it's getting more precise, coming closer to the design I showed. These are the situations we try to find. So finally, this is the final design. We ended up with this shape. As you can see, one floor or one big surface on the floor, different volumes above your head. So we tried to bring this conceptual sketch also very clear into the floor plan. This is a floor plan of the space that is above you, so there's no floor, that's just the void. Getting to the first floor, where you can see the master room living in between these four corners. And here are the connection downstairs where the other people have the connection to the first floor. This is the main entrance where the master can come in and is guided directly to his private floor. And they had some requests in the program. They had, for example, a wine cellar. So I don't know if they're going to use it, but next to the Western style kitchen, we made access to the wine cellar. So if you go one floor down to the ground floor, you have, of course, parking, entrance, main stair going up to the master, and all the other people enter here. So the pool area is kind of corridor, so it's double function. We didn't do an additional corridor. So you walk along the pool, and all the rooms are connected from this pool space. So they have employees on this side, they have some additional bedrooms on that side. You have a Chinese style kitchen, that floor. And if you go down one more, you have the wine cellar. So this is only a connection that goes directly to the master room. There's no access from the ground floor, so only the master can use that space. You can see it better in the section. It's really separated. Access is here next to the kitchen, going down with a spiral stairs directly into the wine cellar. So the result from these models and the images from the models ended up in this image. That's how we imagine how it can look there. We would like to have everything in a rough concrete. Right now we received first construction drawing from China for revision, and I guess we have to fight that we can get this materialization that we would like to have. Because first of all they make it very efficient and much cheaper. They prefer to do brickwork walls because it's much cheaper, and cover it with plaster. So this is the outside view from that house. This big window in the first floor for the master room, the entrance door. There's only one of these big doors, and the car park. So this is how we imagine it could look like if they follow our drawings. I would like to stop with this image. I really look forward to see the project build, going there next time. And we know it will look different, but we don't know how different it will look. So thank you for your attention, and I wish you good studies for that semester. So if there are any questions. So otherwise, we go for a beer. Mm-hmm. It's we didn't do any. So they decided for a project that looked quite different than the program they did. So they did a one-story building. They use a lot of ground that actually in the description they said make it as compact as possible. So somehow they changed their mind. Mm-hmm. Second part. What is performance? Like economical. I mean, the volume is very compact. It is as compact as it is allowed by the code. So it should be more a cube, then it would be even better, or a sphere, then it would be very efficient. But there was a limitation in width of 12 meters that can't be over 12 meters. So it is compact, but not because because of economical reason also, but also there is a regulation that allows, or there is a relation between the ground of the spot and how many square meter usage you can have in the building. It was about 17% of the land can be done inside surface. And because the spot is big, we came directly to the limit that is allowed by the codes. There would have been one possibility to make two volumes, to separate it, but then you need like fire regulation that has to separate the two buildings, and then you need two staircases, so it's losing the efficiency. So it was clear for us that we have to do one building, one circulation space, and I guess it's a result by that it's as compact as possible. It was not the main idea, but it's more a side effect. You can do more efficient volumes, but that wouldn't be allowed by law, but not by law, by the regulation. Can't hear.
Les surfaces ont été maximisées, donc en densité, c'est très bon comme projet écologique, on va dire, parce que vous allez au bout, et vous ne pouvez pas faire plus de surface, de volume, c'est ça. C'est le volume maximum. Okay.
The volume is not regulated, the square meters are regulated. Huh?
Après, j'ai par contre une question pour le projet, la réalisation, au niveau de la protection des vitrages, parce que c'est vrai que ce projet est en miroir inversé, donc et puis il y a ce minimalisme magnifique et subtil, mais qui fait qu'est-ce qu'il y a des vitres de la façade qui se soulèvent, sorte. Ça, comment vous êtes, c'est un problème que vous avez, je pense.
Yeah, we have a lot of glass surface. This is a problem that you get too much heat in summertime. So that's the point. We have shades, but des rouleaux. It's not like it's a textile that goes up and down, so you have shadow inside the building, and I guess it's necessary in summertime because you have so much glass surface. So, that was already then in the project. But of course, it would be from a ecological way to use less glass. Could be more efficient, but so it's always this decision between the space you want to create, the relation between the natural space around, and it's really connected to a park with huge and beautiful trees, and you want to bring that atmosphere into the building, and at the same time you have all this kind of standards you have to follow and find this way. That also we continued working on that. The windows become bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. And of course, there's a standard regulation that is for whole Switzerland, and in Basel especially you have to be 20% better, so like lower energy cost than the law. But I don't know, I guess we're about 50% lower, but there are totally different standards like Minergie. I don't know if you know about that. This is like, I don't know, 80% lower. So we're not on that standard because we try to do that, but it's the discussion between the costs and effect. So we have, compared to the competition, we optimized the project. But we don't reach this Minergie standard. But also I have to say that Minergie is a label. It's a brand. And that's like wearing Gucci. It doesn't mean that it's the best fabric you can get, because you can do better building without reaching that label. Just because you miss something in their formula, their calculation, you drop out.
And about your Chinese project,
this is a difficult discussion about these projects in China. What they told us is a standard that you can compare with the 80s in Switzerland. And we did a project that, with all the construction drawing, we think they're able to do it. And we have it's a double layer concrete with thermal insulation in the core, and it goes through all the surfaces. So that there's insulation goes through. And I guess compared to the standard or to what they're used there, it's a high standard. Compared to what we do here, I guess it's like 20 or 30 years ago. So, and we just got this mail. They want to have it's called air conditioning. So we can propose things, and we can help them to reach a higher level or higher standards, but the control at the end is missing. So even if we correct the drawings, if I don't know how they're going to build, they will change things on site and make it cheaper, make it simpler. So if they skip insulation, they will do it.
J'apprécie beaucoup la projet que vous avez présenté et ce que je trouve, j'aimerais bien qu'il donne une explication sur la méthode de fabrication du projet qui me semble assez différent en fait, suivant chaque projet. Je pense par exemple le projet Burgos, la méthode du projet, la façon de fabriquer me semble assez différente du projet de la maison où par exemple on voit beaucoup de maquettes qui travaillent sur le PC. Et donc ma question c'est est-ce que vous essayez à chaque fois d'inventer finalement une nouvelle façon de faire ou est-ce que c'est un objectif ça ou est-ce que la production est plus linéaire par exemple?
I guess the regular thing is that it's always different. So it's not a method that we try to follow because then it wouldn't work, I guess. So we try not to have a method. So try to escape that you've reduce your work on one way. So like keep it open, keep it free. But I don't know where it will end up. I mean, now the office exists since 4 years, and we worked in very different ways. We always work a lot with models. That is in every project, but they're very different. But I don't know what. I guess I need 10 more years to give you a right answer. So far, we try not to follow a line. So I was asked for a lecture about Entwurfsstrategien. I don't know in English. Like design strategies. You know what I mean? So it was the first time they really started thinking about what are we doing, how are we doing, and how are we designing in our office. And it's really that there is no one solution, so every project is different. And ask me again. Yeah, we try to keep it open. Merci à vous.